Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point. What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the Puncher's Point. Sebastian Fundora has closed out this rivalry with Tim Tszyu, defeating him by 7th round TKO. Now, there's a little bit of controversy, in my opinion, with this fight. Some people feel like it shouldn't have been stopped as early as it did. Others feel like maybe it was justified that it was stopped. And we're going to talk about all of that. I'm going to get my opinion on that. But regardless, it was stopped in the 7th round. It's a TKO win for Sebastian Fundora. He retains his WBC belt. Now, with all of that being said, let's get straight into this video. We're going to talk about the strategy. Now, I'm not going to lie to y'all. I thought both of these guys had a decent strategy come in. See, one of the strengths I have for Sebastian Fundora is his high value punch output and how he's able to consistently just throw high volume punches. And he did that in this fight. I mean, he was beating Tim Tszyu with a lot of power punches, especially that left straight, and landed clean, knocked down Tim Tszyu in the first round. And then right then and there, a lot of people felt like it was going to end early. But Tim Tszyu, being the warrior that he stayed in the fight and he brought the fight to him at times. Now, for me, the first 3 rounds, I gave it to Fundora. And then I'm not going to lie, the 4th, 5th, and possibly 6th round, you could have gave to Tim Tszyu. You know, I mean, those rounds, in my opinion, were swing rounds, so I could see you giving it either any other way. But in my opinion, I mean, even though Tim Tszyu was on the ropes and Sebastian Fundora was landing his power punches on the ropes, there were times where Tim Tszyu would throw a wide hook, which is what I said he should do. He would throw a wide hook, clip Sebastian Fundora. The only problem was he didn't carry the momentum into that. He didn't continue going forward. And it's hard to go forward when your opponent's 6'7" and has a reach as long as Squidward Tentacle's actual legs. So yeah, I agree. It's hard to do that against Sebastian Fundora. However, regardless, I feel like Tim Tszyu was really having success with those wide hooks. I think he could have did a better job of throwing the jab, maybe do a better job of throwing to the body. Breezy mentioned that he should have went to the body a little bit more, or he was, again, your eye level with Sebastian Fundora's body, so that was an easy target that was right in front of him. So that was Breezy's point and basically going to the body. Now, unfortunately, Breezy said don't bet the knockout on Sebastian Fundora. Well, he was dead wrong on that one. And again, it wasn't his fault because we're going to get into that in a little bit as to the fight being stopped. I'm going to talk about that on the excitement portion of this video. But regardless, what I liked about Sebastian Fundora, he was really using that jab. He was pushing Tim Tszyu against the ropes. You could tell that he was the aggressor from round 1 all the way to when the fight ended. I really liked how he was using those hooks and that left straight. I mean, it was clicking. And you could tell every single fight, Sebastian Fundora is getting better and better. That's the truth about Sebastian Fundora. He's constantly getting better. He's constantly improving his skills, and he's turning into a very dangerous boxer to fight. A very, very dangerous fighter. And we got to give him all the credit in the world. And can I just say, shout out to Sebastian Fundora. This man is boxing. He's a world championship fighter. And then on the side, he's going to Harvard. I mean, who does that, really? Like, who boxes, goes into these all-out wars, and then decides, I'm gonna go into Harvard where only the top 3% get in? I mean, Sebastian Fundora, he's got himself a very, very bright future. Now, I'm not sure when he graduates Harvard, I'm not sure if he's gonna continue boxing or not. Maybe Harvard, whatever he's doing over there, maybe it's just a backup plan in case boxing don't work. Who knows? But overall, shout out to Sebastian Fundora. He's killing it. Um, but overall, going back to the strategy, I feel like he did a very good job of being the aggressor, pushing the pace, using his jab, using that left straight. I feel like Tim Tszyu did a very good job of throwing those wide hooks. The only problem was I don't think Tim Tszyu did a good job of getting to the inside of Sebastian Fundora. And if he was going to win this fight, you can't stay on the outside against somebody like Sebastian Fundora because of that reach. That reach is too overpowering. You have to get to the inside. I just don't think Sebastian Fundora did that. But overall, as far as the strategy, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna give the strategy an 8. Now, excitement. This was a very exciting fight. I mean, when these two fight, they're gonna give you fireworks. Both of these fighters alone, when they're fighting different guys, they're gonna give you fireworks. So when you put them in the same ring together, it's gonna give you even more fireworks. So with that being said, this was a very exciting fight. I gotta give the excitement a 9. I think both of these guys did a great job. The only way, or the only reason I wouldn't give it a 10 is because this fight didn't last that long. And here is where we talk about the controversy. Both of these fighters, whenever they fight, they got hard punches, they got constant action, and last but not least, there's always some drama. In my opinion, I think the corner stopped this fight too early. It wasn't, for me, I know Tim Tszyu was taking some punches out there, but it wasn't to the point where he wasn't defending himself. It wasn't to the point where he was taking too much damage. If they were gonna stop the fight, they should have stopped it at the ass whooping that he took from Murtaza. Not this fight. This fight, I feel like Tim Tszyu was still in the fight. I believe he was still fighting. Y'all can disagree in the comments all you like. Don't get me wrong. I'm avid for a fighter's safety, but I still believe Tim Tszyu had some fight in him. I believe they stopped this a little too early. And again, who knows what happens? Tim Tszyu has the power to knock down guys, especially if he were to land a good shot on Sebastian Fundora. Who knows what happens? But I believe they did stop this fight too early. And you could tell in the crowd there were a lot of people who were shocked that that fight was stopped because Tim Tszyu, he was fighting back. He was clipping Sebastian Fundora with those wide hooks. He was doing a decent job. So I'm surprised they stopped the fight. And in my opinion, when your corner stops the fight like that, it's at that point it's like your corner doesn't have any faith that you can continue doing this at a championship level. I mean, you lost to Fundora twice. You got folded by Murtaza, and this is no hate on Tim Tszyu. I really like Tim Tszyu. But the truth is, I don't believe his corner thinks that he's got a lot of championship boxing left, which starts contemplating, maybe you find a new training camp or maybe you find some new trainers or maybe you retire, who knows. But overall, I feel like his corner shouldn't have stopped that fight as quick as they did. So there's that. So there's the drama right there. I do like the total nonstop action that they were given. I do like the power punches that Fundora was throwing. I do like how Tim Tszyu would come back with those wide hooks and clip Sebastian Fundora at times. And there were times where Sebastian Fundora would get clipped and Tim Tszyu would charge in. So I do believe it was a very exciting fight. I got to give it a 9. And now, as far as stakes, well, what was on the line? Well, first of all, you got the WBC Super Welterweight Championship on the line. So there's that. The second thing you had on the line was this rematch was important to both fighters. And the reason why I say that is because both of these fighters needed a win. See, Sebastian Fundora, a lot of people believe the first one was a fluke because of that cut. And then as far as Tim Tszyu, when you come off of a decent win against Joey Spencer, but the fight before that you took a very terrible beating by Murtaza. A lot of people were writing off Tim Tszyu. I'm not gonna lie, I was probably one of those people that was writing him off as well. I do believe that the two fights that he had with Fundora and Tim Tszyu took a toll on him. And I don't think I was wrong about that. But this rematch was important to both fighters because there was something to prove for both fighters, not to the fans, but to themselves. I know Sebastian Fundora, he can go back in time. He wouldn't throw that elbow and cut Tim Tszyu. I know he didn't do it on purpose, but if he can go back in time and stop that, most likely Sebastian Fundora would do that. So Sebastian Fundora had to prove to himself that he could defeat Tim Tszyu off of his own skills, and he did that. Tim Tszyu had to prove that he still had championship boxing left in him. He had a shot to rewrite one of the wrongs on his resume, and he did not do that. So for me, this was a very important rematch as far as stakes, what was on the line. I mean, basically what's on the line is proving yourself right. Both these guys feel like they could have won that fight without a cut, and they could have competed for a world championship again. Both of these guys felt that way. And at the end of the day, when they fought, one guy was going to be proven right, and that was Sebastian Fundora. So for me, the stakes were relatively big. I'm going to give it an 8.5. And then last but not least, the impact. How does this impact the sport of boxing or the division? Well, Sebastian Fundora, he's proved that he can defeat Tim Tszyu with his own skills. Sebastian Fundora was already, in my opinion, the number one super welterweight in that division. So there's that. In my opinion, I don't think the impact for Sebastian Fundora goes up that high. I don't know if he did enough to where we can call him a pound for pound top 10 fighter. I don't know if he did enough, especially with the weekend that we just had. I don't know. So I'm not going to say that this impacts him hugely, but at the same time, it does have a relative good impact on Sebastian Fundora. He can now move on with that division. And now, if we're looking at that division, you got Jerron Boots Ennis, who's climbing up to 154. You got Virgil Ortiz, that's probably knocking on the door. Bakr Murtazaliev. I mean, somebody's got to fight him. I don't know who, but somebody's got to fight him. So there's all of that. But in my opinion, I feel like with Sebastian Fundora, he has a lot of options, but I feel like he would have still had that options regardless of the win with Tim Tszyu. Before that, he still had those options. It's just he had to take care of business with Tim Tszyu. So as far as the impact, I'm gonna give it a 7. And then when you add it all up and get the overall score for this fight is going to be 8.13. Now, that's not number one, but as of right now, that's potentially in the top five for season five. So 8.13 will be the final grade for Sebastian Fundora versus Tim Tszyu 2. Now, with all of that being said, what's next for both of these fighters? Well, we'll start with Sebastian Fundora. For Sebastian Fundora, I would like to see him unify that division. The fight that I would want to see at 154 is him versus Murtaza Aliyev. I do feel like that's the fight that I want to see because I think both of these guys are very, very dangerous. I think both of these guys can pack a punch, and I just think it would be a firework fight. It's going to be really interesting to see how Murtaza Aliyev handles Sebastian Fundora's reach. And it's going to be very interesting to see how Sebastian Fundora handles power shots from Murtaza Aliyev. So, in my opinion, that's the number one fight for Sebastian Fundora. As far as Tim Tszyu, there's a way for him to kind of climb back to that championship shot one more time. And you could potentially give him a rematch with Tazlia, but I do think that the same outcome happens. I think honestly, if you're gonna give him a fight, I would like to see him versus Madrimov. I do think that would be a good fight for that 154-pound division. I feel like Madrimov's got a style that could work against Tim Tszyu, but I also feel like it's a style that Tim Tszyu could pick apart. Tim Tszyu versus Virgil Ortiz. I mean, that's a fight that's been rumored to happen when Tim Tszyu was in his prime, but it never happened. So maybe Virgil Ortiz versus Tim Tszyu next. But in my opinion, I don't like that fight for Tim Tszyu because I feel like it's a little bit too dangerous. And the third option is if it's not anything going for a title or if it's not a fight that people would want to see, honestly, I don't think your corner thinks you have much in you if they're gonna stop it like that in the seventh round. Honestly, retirement might be on the table for Tim Tszyu. And I know he's young. I know he's still 30, but overall, I mean, there's just so many things that Tim Tszyu has against him. He really has to bounce back. And like I said, the Joey Spencer fight was not going to prepare him for Sebastian Fundora, just like how the Cordell Booker fight was not going to prepare Sebastian Fundora for Tim Tszyu. So I feel like it would be good for Tim Tszyu to get a couple of tune-up fights, kind of get him back into the groove. It would be good for Tim Tszyu to challenge Madrimov. I do think Madrimov is a very tricky opponent to deal with. He's a very tricky opponent to fight and to figure out. And I do feel like if he can get a win against Madrimov, that probably puts him on the right direction to go for a championship at that 154-pound division. Maybe, I'm just saying, maybe when Boots goes up to 154, maybe that's the next fight. Maybe that's Boots' welcome fight to 154 pounds as well. So he's got options. Both of these guys got options, but in my opinion, the stronger options should go to Fundora. I feel like Fundora has proved time and time again that he is a good champion. Everybody just remembers the Mendoza loss, and everybody just remembers the first fight with Tim Tszyu and just thinks Sebastian Fundora is nothing. Sebastian Fundora keeps on proving that not only is he getting better, but he is possibly one of the best champions in that 154-pound division. I certainly believe so. So, in my opinion, I do feel like the next thing for Sebastian Fundora, the next thing for Sebastian Fundora, the first thing I would like to see is him versus Murtaza Aliyev, but I would like to see him versus Virgil Ortiz maybe as well. I do think both of those fights are possible to make, and overall, I do think that they could be made. So overall, I mean, we're just gonna have to see. And again, first of all, shout out to Sebastian Fundora on getting a great win, on basically sweeping this rivalry against Tim Tszyu. As far as Tim Tszyu, he put up a good fight. You know, I really don't agree with his corner stopping the fight that early. I feel like he still had a few rounds left in him to do something or to potentially get an upset. Who knows? I still think he had a few rounds in him. I do think that he was landing some crisp shots out there. I do think that he was landing some crisp shots out there, and I just feel like the corner stopped it a little too soon. But overall, if he's going to keep on fighting, keep your head up. You know, I don't want to be the type of guy to be like, it's all over for Tim Tszyu. I just want to see Tim Tszyu get back on the right track, but it's going to be really hard for him to do. And so, with that being said, make sure y'all continue to tune in to the Puncher's Point. Again, we're going to keep on dropping banger after banger. We're going to upload this episode, and then after that, we're going to upload Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios. So make sure y'all definitely tune into those two episodes. As far as the episodes that are already on the channel, as of right now, since I've recorded, we got Usyk versus Dubois 2, and we have Bam Rodriguez versus Cafu. We got the post-fight breakdowns for those. So overall, make sure y'all continue to tune into the Puncher's Point. We're going to keep on dropping banger after banger after banger. That's a quote from Sheamus from the WWE. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, go look that up. But overall, make sure y'all continue to tune into the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Threads, Reddit, Discord. Make sure y'all go definitely check those out. And last but not least, We are the future of the Puncher's Point. And trust me when I tell you, you're going to want to stay tuned. So with that being said, make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.